three realms. On the initial verse, all these Dhammakaya bodhisattvas accompany the practitioners of the two vehicles. Okay, so this one talks about the relationship between the bodhisattvas and the practitioner of the two vehicles, and Dhammakaya bodhisattvas will come to guide the two vehicle practitioners. They transform hearers and solitary realizers by working together with them, as mentioned, flow on from the first line, concealing the truth to give the provisional. They follow capabilities by using soft, gentle, kind, and gentle speech. So for us walking on this bodhisattva path, what Master is alluding to us is this is what we should be doing in our future life when you become a bodhisattva. So, and so if that is indeed the aspiration, then we got to cultivate these capabilities of being soft, kind, and gentle in our speech. So the clear principles and truths of the great vehicle are circuitously hidden in the limited teachings, meaning that it's not taught in a straight manner, but in a roundabout way because of the capabilities, so that we can guide them solely to develop that discerning wisdom. So in this explanation here, when causes and conditions mature, we can encounter and accept the Dharma. As we have right now, that we are in this particular path, and therefore we have the teachings that with us right now. So there will be bodhisattvas around to guide us. So even in this life, I'm not sure whether you heard of some stories, but some of you may have, and they are indeed enlightened beings amongst us. So thus, we must show gratitude to every person because we are not enlightened, and we do not know whether they are already enlightened. So a very humble being, and usually most of them, they come in very, very humble forms that you least expect, and they walk amongst us. When we see states of diligence, we must quickly seize the moment. This is the only way for us to turn from being hearers and solitary realizers and the bodhisattva path. And because the door to Buddhahood is through the door of bodhisattvahood, there's no other way. So the great Dharma could be expounded right away, but these clear principles of true Dharma instead had to be taught circuitously in a roundabout way, because so it's got to be taught in an indirect way because you have to use the limited teachings to solely guide them, those with limited capabilities. And so even for us in this lifetime, we have undertaken the aspiration of vows, which we may have also undertaken in the past. So when in a future life, would we then have the condition to hold on to that aspiration of vows? And this is the part that I think we have to cultivate earnestly to uphold that vow. So in this parable, secretly dispatched two men to put on the clothes that made them look like they were impoverished. They were lean, haggard, and imposing in appearance. This was the mindful thinking of his father. So they made them look like impoverished because obviously if you have a noble being dressed in a noble manner, going down a man in the street, the man in the street will not be comfortable, right, with the noble one. And this is the reason why they look impoverished. You know, that reminds me of, I'm not sure you heard of this monk. He was in Hangzhou in China. I'm talking about 1,000 over years ago. His Guru Qigong. You know, I'm not sure you heard of Qigong. Qigong is actually an enlightened being. And he goes down, or he went down to the masses as known as a monk. He dressed like a beggar, And he would go around and transform people in that way that he does. But obviously, some of you may despise what he did because he drinks and he eats meat. But the thing is, there is a reason why he does that. He does that because he needed to be transform those people who are indulging in various things, so that to show them even they can be transformed. And there are a lot of fascinating stories of how he transcend through those worldly ways. As they have no great resolve of vows, they are unwilling to go among people. Thus, we should take time to share gradual teachings with them and slowly guide them along. So this, and I read about this particular paragraph in the sutra, it reminds me of this so-called the mad monk or Guru Qigong. So the lessons learned is eliminate the two delusions of use and practice, then we can guide the true principles and transcend the three realms. So what are the views, the delusion of use and practice? The delusion of use refer to the five acute afflictions, of course. This means the view of self-extreme views, deviant views, stubborn view, and the view of deviant precepts. And the one terms of practice, the impediment of practice, our five chronic afflictions. They will hinder us in our practice, being greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt. So even though sometimes we hear, oh, he can go unhindered. Unhindered doesn't mean that the person's life in practice are without obstacles, but it's a hindrance of the mind. So when we are filled with five chronic afflictions, even though one has a smooth life, the practice will always be hindered. But one who is facing a lot of obstacles in their life, but in practice, but has managed to subdue one's greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt, you can go on the path unhindered. So the delusion of not understanding the principles seen on the path means that though we engage in spiritual practice, if our perspectives deviate, we will be easily head toward a deviant path. And this is the point about having the clear understanding with the realization of the profound insights of the teaching. And so that's why some people would go into very intense debates about what they hold on to because it's their own belief. And but that is little realization, and that's why they go into quite intensive debates. I remember I met a master. I'm talking about 20 over years ago, and he came to Malaysia, and he was a quite well-renowned spiritual master, and he was giving a Dharma talk. And there were amongst the audience, there was a question that was asked. I was quite taken aback by his answer, and it's very clear that the question was asked, and you can tell, sometimes you can tell from the question people ask, is a question they ask to challenge him. And he just said, I don't know. And he said in a very joking manner, you know what? I'm entitled to say I don't know, right? So I thought it was a fantastic answer when he said that, because he knew that there was no point answering that question. All the Buddha Dharma is our place of practice. When the Buddha Dharma is in our minds, we have an inner spiritual training ground. So when we take the Dharma to heart, and obviously we want to do is to transform the mind, and that is where our place of practice. Yes, because we are grateful, we are surrounded by Bodhisattvas, we should be respectful, just like the never slaving Bodhisattva, to respect everyone as if all of them are going to be future Buddhas. So we all express gratitude and respect together for one reason, to exercise our pure and selfless great love. This is the undefiled Buddha nature that we should be practicing. So in contemplation, one should first seek to awaken within so that one can advance in knowing within, right? Which resonates with this particular part here. Our Buddha Dharma is in our place of practice, and the Buddha Dharma is in our minds, and we have it in a spiritual training ground. So walk the path of practice that you know. And it's important because we need to know what we are doing. So learning to walk and walking to learn will grow in your knowing. So it's when we walk the path, learning to walk, it's willing to walk the journey as we try to learn from the Dharma, and walking to learn at the same time as we go amongst people and learning from the experience that we have, and that is the growth, that is the spiritual growth from experiential learning. The practice can then gain you learning in self-growth, as I mentioned earlier, from experience, to evolve, to transform your spiritual development, which is all within us. So having the right understanding will generate the right thoughts to move you well into the practice, because having the right thoughts come to the right understanding, but having the right understanding is not just from what you learn from the words, but you got to learn from the experiential learning to really grow in realization of the profound meanings. So on relationship, about erratic relationship, rapids and falls in life are like a stream, and there will always be rapids in a river. There are rapids, that waterfalls. So that's what life flows, much like a river. So we must learn to accept the flow, whether there are rapids, whether there are falls. So unless one understands the flow, one does not understand how to navigate in life. So when things go so very well in my life, and they are not without obstacles, when the obstacles come, and the person breaks down, doesn't want how to navigate through life. So all these obstacles that we face are our experiential learning for us to overcome, and so that we can apply the Dharma earnestly into our life. So there will be rapids and falls along the way. Practice in the flow of life, the release of consciousness, to grow in wisdom, to transcend the falls, the rapids and the falls in our life. And when we do that, whatever the relationship they may be, you'll be able to overcome that. Okay, Kanan, brothers and sisters, thank you.
Yeah. Always ever so grateful to our BrotherChin for the wonderful sight.